Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Working Lunch. This is the Slow Chambers weekly series, talking with our community leaders and connecting you with some folks you may know and some you may not, who are doing some terrific things during these challenging times and bringing back some of that connection that's missing. I know we all miss it. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the Slow Chamber, and today you'll get to be a part of my conversation with Cara Crye, President and CEO of Farm Supply Company, celebrating their 70th anniversary this year. Farm Supply has been the Central Coast local retail store for home, farm, and ranch supply needs since 1950, with locations in Paso, San Luis Obispo, Arroyo Grande, Santa Maria, and Buellton. Farm Supply is known for living up to their tagline of having something for the farmer and everyone, apparently even including me. So for CEO Cara Crye, Central Coast agriculture has been a lifelong passion. She is the fourth generation San Luis Obispo County resident whose Morro Bay family worked in cattle ranching and construction. Now, decades after she started working at Farm Supply, Crye is in the midst of her third year as company's CEO. I'm looking forward to hearing more about how things are going at the stores, getting some insight into the Central Coast amateur mini farm boom of 2020, and talking about some of the silver linings of the past few months. Cara, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Well, it's so great to have you here with us. And we always ask our first question as we kind of sit down to lunch. First and foremost, where are you zooming in from, and what's on the lunch menu today?
All right, so my Longhorn steer and I are zooming in from Farm Supply, my office right here on Tank Farm Road. The steer's been getting a lot of attention since COVID with all these Zoom meetings, so he's quiet, but he's grateful. Today we'll be eating lunch from Novo, the Chow Novo with chicken, and I just want to thank the Chamber for lunch. I'm so excited to eat that after our talk, because you don't want me to eat and talk, especially because I talk with my hands. Would have been terrible.
That's hilarious. And we're so glad, that's awesome. And that's a delicious salad. Can't wait to probably do the same after this meeting. So let's kind of start from the beginning. What initially drew you to Farm Supply? Was there a connection to the store before you began working there in college?
Yeah, well, I hope there's some new people listening today. I feel like I've gotten to tell this story so many times, right, in the community over the last 3 years, but I never get tired of it. So basically, yeah, I tell everyone, this job's really a labor of love for me. I feel really grateful because Farm Supply, being a farmer-owned co-op, we're owned by 2,400 farmers and ranchers in our community. I think that's what's most important, first and foremost, because a lot of people in our community, especially the changing demographics, think that we're just retail locations, but we really do have this big tie back to our local agriculture industry. So I came here with my grandparents. As a very young girl, my grandfather, my Portuguese grandfather, my boo, is the one who gave me the love for agriculture and that passion. And so there'd be quite a few weekends that we would stop in at Farm Supply and get supplies we needed for the ranch before we headed out there for a hard day's work.
It was so interesting to me as someone who just came to the community a little while ago and getting to know the ag and understanding Farm Supply, and what a fabulous kind of model and setup. And, you can see why that's made us 70 years of success kind of going on here. But now that you've been CEO for a few years, is there anything that's kind of surprised you about the role, either in a good or challenging way?
There's been so many things, right, Jim? I think, I realized, have I become more serious being in this role, right? I feel like I used to be such a good time, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a big kid job. But I love it. I feel so lucky. I can't really think of anything, challenging or different right now, except for, always acknowledging that, good or bad or indifferent, people are always watching you, right? They're, watching how you show up, how you conduct yourself, how you're leading the company. Are you participatory? Are you more taking direction? I really believe in servant leadership. That really works for me. I also know I'm not the smartest person in the room, so I'm going to surround myself with intelligent people and learn from them. So I guess for me, the challenge or interesting thing has been how I show up, right? And that I do need to ebb and flow, even in my own leadership style. And when there is a time just for me to make a decision, or when there's a time where I do need more participation, I know we'll talk about that later, but that's never been clear the last 6 months, as every single one of us has really, battled the challenges of this COVID pandemic.
Well, kind of a couple things with that. And, obviously, if folks are new, maybe they're not as familiar with your extrovertedness. But those, as a fellow extrovert, how are you doing with quarantine?
Yeah, the struggle's real, Jim. Right when this happened in March, I joke that, my calendar's very full. I'm really proud of that. It's full professionally, it's full personally, especially this great community we live in with so many resources. I had weddings and parties and all these other events. And come March 20th, my calendar is blank. Potentially till 2025. We don't know. I'm hoping to be surprised earlier on. It has been challenging for me. So in the beginning, I became all about the Zoom happy hour. I highly recommend it, but keep it in check. Also, don't demand that your friends have to get on the happy hour because you're such an extrovert. You really need to see people's faces. So that was a challenge in the beginning. I think I'm settling in a little more. My heart goes out to all of our local businesses who are not essential businesses, especially our travel and tourism industry. So I'm being safe because I'm in the public all the time. I want to be safe for my family, my friends, my coworkers, but I'm supporting those local businesses, right? I'm trying to get out there. That is also helping my extrovertism. But there's also been some good things as well of just kind of slowing down the pace a little and me being very calculated, for lack of a better term, of how I want to move forward, right? And when we go back to our next level of normal, what does that look like for me, personally and professionally? So there has been a bit of the slowdown. I realized I have a really nice home and I knew that, but I just wasn't paying enough attention. So I guess some people go home at 6 o'clock and stay there till the next morning. I had no idea. So that's been cool.
Yeah, it's that is so funny. I share that same piece of wait, do people come home and then like
Yeah,
stay there the whole time? That's
I
amazing.
guess. Yeah.
Well, obviously you lead a team. So on that, how is your team doing through all this and working through it? Who are your employees? How are they doing? And as you're building your team, as you've seen a lot of these changes, are you having to look at do things differently in hiring, or how's that going?
Yeah, for sure. Well, of course, I'm going to brag that Farm Supply has the best team around, right? We hire really great people. And so I can't be more proud of my team during a time that has been incredibly challenging, that all of us have things outside the walls of this company or concerns. And, my comment has been all along that, every day we show up elevated at a different level, right? Especially during a challenging time like this. And so I'm not sure how everyone's going to show up every day, but from March, I'm so grateful. We're governed by a board of directors, and in my conversations with them early on, we all agreed, and this is just going back to how Farm Supply conducts itself, that the safety and health of our employees, our members, and our customers is number one, first and foremost. We will figure out the business, but it's about taking care of our people right now, and that's what we've done. The last 6 months, we were fortunate. We did shorten our store hours for a couple of months because we just weren't sure what was going to happen, how many people would be working or choose not to work, or anything else that might have come up. But everyone was still working full time. And so I'm really proud of that we did not have to cut any hours. And it actually was this very cool thing where Farm Supply was open for an 8-hour shift. So all of us came to work at the same exact time and left at the same time. And there was something amazing about that camaraderie, especially in a stressful time. We'd have a meeting as soon as we got here, and the first half hour before the store opened, we would sanitize. And that was great. Everyone was working together, sanitizing the store. That was in addition to practices throughout the day. But even that, things that you learn, we're retail, we're open to the public. Some of the things we've put in play due to COVID, we should have already been doing. And so some of those things I've told my team, this is from here on out. This is not something we're doing, short, long term, but we're doing it long term. So yeah, really proud of my staff. People are finally, I'm not saying they're traveling, going out of the area. Some, are, but acknowledging that you got to take a break, right? Take some time off. You have days. It's so good for your mental, well-being. So in terms of the current staff, they're doing great. So proud of them. So grateful to be here with them. Hiring has been interesting and honestly optimistic a little in some cases of we have a really hard time finding employees, right? I think a lot of people do in our community with the workforce we have, especially because farm supply doesn't have a lot of head of household jobs. And we all know the cost of living is very high here. We offer excellent benefits, but I think we're in a time where it's what's ending up in your bank account. So it has been challenging us with employees, but unfortunately for some people, if they've lost a job or other things have happened, we've been able to make some really good hires lately. So we don't take that for granted. We're grateful. We're, feel bad for the situation prior, but happy to have them on our team.
Well, and just to our folks watching online, if you have some great questions that you're interested in finding out from Cara, just go ahead and insert them on the Facebook Live channel there. But when you and I talked a little earlier this week, we were talking about the experience of customers, and maybe it's also, from looking back in your previous experience all the way to now. Can you share a little bit about how maybe that's changed from customer behavior at Farm Supply on maybe what you're stocking or what you're putting on the shelves to what people are buying? Is there any interesting trends there?
Yeah, definitely. I think one is even how, first of all, is how our customers are showing up, right? How they're feeling even emotionally that day. We've talked about that quite a bit, that, we want to show up with compassion, but also, my people can be, depending on how they're feeling, that we're all in this together, but let's, take a deep breath. We're being safe, we're sanitizing, we're wearing masks, we're offering curbside if we need to. But I would say even the shift of that, of how our customers are showing up has been different prior to COVID. In terms of shopping, that's been really interesting for us. We were coming into our busy time. Spring's really our time to shine with growing. Everyone wants a garden. They're buying baby chicks. Kids are showing animals at our local fairs. So it's, irrigation products, nursery, so on and so forth. But gosh, the boom that happened was unbelievable. We were so busy. People were at home, right? So and I love it. It was this back to basics, grow your own movement of, planting vegetable gardens, wanting to buy baby chicks, and have your own eggs, fencing projects that you hadn't gotten to. So that was great for us. One of the things we did do though was we wanted to promote this social distancing and safety during COVID. So we pulled all of our promotions. So we were not putting anything out there to get the customers coming through our store because we were concerned for our own people because the ticket count was so high. There was so much traffic in some of our stores. And, that added another level of anxiety, for our people and for the customer. But people just couldn't get in quick enough to purchase the products they need. When the chicks would show up, the baby chicks, potentially one of our stores, we had about 3 Fridays in a row, 40 customers standing outside of our locked gates for over an hour to pick up a maximum of 10 chicks because we also had to limit how many chicks we could sell to be fair to the masses. At that time, there was a Newcastle disease within San Luis, Santa Barbara County, unfortunately, with chickens. So the hatcheries could not ship the chicks within our county. So an employee would drive to King City every Friday. And those of you not involved in agriculture don't understand the noise enclosed in a vehicle that 4,000 baby chicks make because you cannot mute them. I mean, unless you have a parrot at home, maybe that, or a super chatty kid like Jim and I when we were kids or now. Yeah, you don't understand what it takes to, deliver those chicks. So that was really interesting. And we are still having a lot of supply issues. I think that is not uncommon for other retailers. We're all consumers going places, even my local grocery store, there's still blank shelves. And that's definitely the case with Farm Supply. Orders we've made in June are not going to start showing up until November or December. So those are a lot of things we're being faced with on, how we can best supply our customers with, exceptional service and quality products.
So I have to jump back to that, the chicks, baby chicks being hauled down. So you are selling out of 4,000 baby chicks?
Yeah, within hours. So what would happen was our employee would start at our most northern store. Obviously, you and I, I'm sure they're both very good at geography. So they would go to King City and then Paso, San Luis, AG, Santa Maria, Buellton. And we also, the chicks have been on a flight, commercial airlines. So they've flown for a day in a, United Postal Service box with holes. Let's be clear here, very safe with the chicks. But we do check them all out when they come in, give them a little water and some vitamins before people come in and purchase them. So this takes a process. So we had to make social distance marks out in our parking lot where people had to stand. I got yelled at a couple times, Jim, over, a gym cut in front of me, and I was here at 5:30 a.m. And then and it's entertaining, and I love people's energy behind it. And so I would go out and tell stories and do like an interpretive dance and talk about farm supply. I loved it. I love a captive audience. Now, towards the end of the picking up chicks at one of our locations, one of my employees was just trying to get through our walkthrough date. So this shows you the elevation of people, right, in the situation. And I want to remind you, we're not talking about brain surgery. We're talking about $3.99 chicks. So one of my employees tries to walk through our walkthrough gate, and one of our customers basically accosts her and tells her, you're in my way. And she's like, I'm just trying to get to work. And so it got a little ugly. And I was like, gosh, I understand people are elevated, but don't talk to my people like that. They're just trying to get to work. So I was going to go out and talk to the customer and see if I could, de-escalate the situation. Luckily, one of my assistant managers, who's much calmer, more of an introvert than I am, he walked out. Well, before he could say anything, this nice lady, her husband was with her, and he benched her and put her in the car. So she now lost her privilege of getting baby chicks. So that was awesome. So I love the passion behind it. But let's just be kind in a really scary time where we need tomato plants and baby chicks.
That's funny. So, I mean, yes. And I will even say, as a city boy, I was trying to tell the wife, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have some baby chicks and get some eggs and stuff? So I can imagine, but to hear that volume to be sold out is really, really incredible.
Yeah.
And so that is also the tomato plant another one that is kind of following that same lead?
Yeah, so then in one of our stores, people would call, pretty excessively, because I get it, you don't want to go out unless you need to, you want to stay home. And so we couldn't keep up with all the calls because they wanted to know exactly when the grower's truck was going to show up. And then, basically we had a hard time, opening the back of the truck and getting plants out because people needed them really bad. And I do want to warn people, if you haven't been in farming, I'm not patient, so I would not be a good farmer because it takes a while. You have to be patient for things to grow. So Jim, since you're a city guy, that chick was not going to give you an egg day 2 when you took it home. It's going to be a couple months. And also for that tomato plant, it's going to be a few months until you get that amazing piece of fruit off that plant. But I love the energy. I loved the energy of it. I hope that we provided the customers with exceptional customer service. That's what we sell. And that they're going to come back next year, right? That they had a really good experience. We sell stock tanks, water troughs, for those of you not in ag, for livestock to drink out of. Those have become very popular in the last 5 years for raised beds. They're galvanized, they're oval, they're round. We cannot keep those in our stores. We are months out for people who wanted to go, also have raised beds gardens. So I hope we'll see them every year replanting.
Well, and I love the fact that people are finding this and reconnecting to our ag roots. California, this is what we were built on. This is obviously, as you said, your family, 4 generations of farming. And it is amazing coming to the Central Coast. You taste fresh products rather than what's shipped, and it's really a difference. So it's amazing to think about that. So on the supply chain issue, both if it's whether it's livestock or other things, is that just a factor of the amount of things being bought, or is it kind of in that back as manufacturing has been slowed down, or is it both?
Yeah, so it's quite a few factors, actually. If we look back to the manufacturing, those businesses are being faced with the same things we are in terms of people are making this happen. So yeah, have they had COVID cases in their businesses? Potentially. Have they had people that have wanted to furlough, or they've laid off for different reasons, or just don't have the resources? So there's been a slowdown with that potentially. Trucking is always an issue for us, and that's because become even a bigger issue during COVID. Truly, with all the regulations in California, drivers do not want to truck inside of our state, unfortunately. So that's become a bigger issue during COVID. You know, we're also dealing with a lot of raw products. You know, what farm supply sells, you know, be it, you know, wood shavings or rubber from the stall mats that we have for livestock, to seed packets you're purchasing. There's only so much that could be produced. And if they didn't forecast last year, nobody knew this was coming, you know, the supply and demand was just so high. So it really is multifaceted, the challenges that we're having with inventory. We just got notification on Monday, unfortunately, that we're going to be out of PVC pipe soon. So just plastic pipe that we really need, that a lot of people need, that we're going to start having some serious shortages with that, because now we've had hurricanes and fires. So roll that all into this COVID situation, unfortunately. So our purchasing team has been working so hard to find some other vendors to see if we can purchase product. Well, where the pipe's concerned, for example, what our vendor is doing is, to be fair to all of their customers, looking at your past 12 month sales. And they're going to divide that up and only ship you a percentage of that. So, you know, they're doing the best they can. You know, it's important for us, when you all as customers come into our store, for, you know, our problem is not your problem, but for us to communicate, you know, the challenges that we're having. So that's concerning to me as well when that came out, especially when you even look at all of the development that's going on around our community. If there's not something as simple as plastic pipe, you know, that's definitely going to slow up the process. So there's my public service announcement today. Come to Farm Supply and get all the plastic pipe you need by Saturday at 5. Jim, I better see you in here in a half hour. I don't know what you're doing, but you need some plastic pipe.
Who doesn't need PVC? I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
It's the most important tool we have.
Yeah.
But actually, that's interesting in talking maybe a little bit about Farm Supply, and thinking about, obviously it was set up as a co-op for the ag community to farm and do that and buy in bulk and do that. But you've also now, I mean, I was into the store and seen plenty of things, and you're obviously getting new people buying chicks and tomato plants and like that. Has that really changed? Has Farm Supply just kind of had to, you know, ebb and flow with how, who your customer is?
You know, I think there's been an increase in customer traffic, like I've mentioned, the last 6 months. But truly, you know, Farm Supplies really, to a degree, have been evolving the last 70 years with the changes of the Central Coast, right? So there's that natural progression that's happened. But I do think in the last 10 or 15 years, it's really speeded up that much more rapidly in terms of, you know, people who work from home or retire and want to come to the Central Coast. You know, we have so many beautiful properties in our areas, from what we call ranchettes to 5 to 10 acres. Jim D'Antona moves from LA and wants to be a weekend farmer or rancher. So here he is on his ranch. He loves his 5 acres. So we have that, where luckily Jim still has a day job, or he would, you know, be out of money and his wife would leave him if that's all he was doing, to people that, you know, are buying hundreds or thousands of acres in our community. And what we're finding, which I think is a real benefit to Farm Supply in terms of gaining loyalty with new customer base, is a lot of the people coming in from out of the area have never lived on property, right? So they're not used to well water. And that when I turn my faucet on, no water comes out. Like, what do I do? And so we have a pump and well service. So, you know, we have an opportunity to go out there, you know, with our Farm Supply capes on and really provide good service and make them a customer. So I genuinely think that's been happening for a while. I really feel it's just this push we had the last 6 months, because people were going crazy staying in their homes, and somehow happened upon Farm Supply being essential and being open. So in that case, it really has been great for us, and we don't take that for granted, again, considering our neighbors who are in the restaurant business right now and haven't been as fortunate.
Yeah, and it's you're right, exactly, with those folks coming out of the area, and maybe this is their first time. You know, somebody who's on, I can see is online right now. Jeff Buckingham was so great to give me a tour and help me understand a little bit more, because I would have done exactly like, well, where's the water? Why isn't it coming on? Doesn't that automatic?
Right.
So it's really interesting. And so you're, you know, in looking at your 4 stores, do you build that kind of across or is it different depending on whether you're Paso, Buellton, or are those stores, are you looking specific in those regions? Does the customer change in that kind of regional setting?
Yeah, it very much does. With, our 5 locations, a couple of them are pretty similar, others are not. Paso, for example, is still a really incredible, or, really, heavily rural, populated. And then you put the, winery and vineyard component into that. So we are still selling more of those true co-op supplies, I would say. San Luis, truly more of that, urban kind of feel where we're located. Arroyo Grande, same thing, heavily populated with ranchettes, horse owners, pet owners. Santa Maria is a more challenging market for us. A couple reasons. We could do a better job. We just finalized the strategic plan. We could do a better job catering to the Hispanic community in Santa Maria, and there's a lot of competition down there as well. A lot of competition with the Hispanic community in terms of stores that they're shopping at, but then just in general, there's it's just a more populated area with commercial business. Buellton, that's the last facility we purchased back in 2012. We've been wanting to get down in the valley for quite a few years. That's a great location for us. Not as many customers in that valley, but and a lot of absentee customers, but their employees come in quite a bit and purchase quite a bit of product on keeping their farm or ranch updated. So so we're grateful for the product mix. However, I do want to see commonality amongst all 5 of our locations. If you go to our Paso store because you're in North County, I want to make sure that what you're getting there, you can also get in San Luis, right? But we have looked at what is some diversity with some of our locations to cater to each one of those communities.
Yeah, it's so interesting and so awesome. And again, I think it's great because it's a little different depending on where you are, but also there's some commonality. So sounds fabulous. And so just I can't believe it's already almost a half hour in. And so I want to ask you kind of a personal question. I know obviously we were talking a little bit before, there's so many changes in our lives and organizations because of COVID. Are there any changes personally or professionally that you hope or think will become permanent in what you do?
I think truly, as I mentioned earlier, it has brought awareness to what essential business means. And really, I think personally and professionally, I think we know more now, but that's a very interesting concept for me on personally and professionally what my contribution is to the community, or let's just say the world. I like to go big, Jim. And also, as I mentioned a minute ago, it has really made me rethink, what my days look like and what's important. And it really has. I'm always grateful. I live with a ton of gratitude for my life. I know how lucky I am, but sometimes I get caught up in the momentum of everything. And I'm just getting through talking with you, although we should have made it an hour, but I'm getting through talking with you so I can then eat my Novo Chow lunch. So then I can go do this and that. And so it has reminded me, just the slower pace of life, to be grateful and be very purposeful of where we're going next. And I think that also applies to Farm Supply and the business that we're running and what our impact is, not only on our members and customers, but the community. So I would end with, it's a reset for me. That's how I look at it. It's a reset, and it's awareness on many levels, from health to business, I guess, would be the 2, extremes I would use right now.
Yeah, I would agree with it. I think we've heard it from several of the folks talking about it. It gave us that mindset kind of reset in order to try and look at potentially a healthier way than we may have been going at it, at 100 miles an hour. So where can people find Farm Supply if they've been inspired to tackle a new project this weekend?
Yes, great question, Jim. Well, one of the things through COVID is it's made us learn how important, e-commerce and being online is. We don't have that yet, but we do have this beautiful online brochure if you go to farmsupplycompany.com, which will give you all of our locations. We're also on, Instagram and Facebook, but our store in Paso is right on Ramada Drive. I tell everyone, across the freeway from Target. Market. Here in San Luis Obispo, we're on Tank Farm, you know, neighbors with Kennedy Club Fitness. Rio Grande, freeway visibility on El Camino, right across the freeway from Walmart. Santa Maria is right at the beginning of town on North Broadway. You take that first exit, we're about a block away. And then in Buellton, Jim, you'll appreciate this, Firestone Walker Brewery, right next door to Firestone. So how can you miss Farm Supply? Come and get a couple supplies and then treat yourself to a beer.
Nice co-branding and marketing there. That was
I know.
awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I should call them and let them know, right? I would like a free beer. I just
Exactly.
threw the name out there. Yeah.
That's the payment for it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. It is truly a pleasure always to talk to you. I obviously would prefer to be able to be in person, see you, have a drink with you, hopefully soon. But thank you for spending some time with us. I know all the people online here have been shouting your praise.
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. And you know what? Thank you and your team at the Chamber. You guys are doing an amazing job. And I just, you know, it's tough times. We're all in this together. And I really appreciate the way you've been supporting our local businesses and our neighbors. So.
Well, thank you. And for all of you joining us and watching, thank you so much for eating lunch with us today. We hope to see you next week when we're joined by Ron Ukelson. He is the Chief Operations and Strategy Officer for Wilshire Health and Community Service. And he's also spent a lot of time in the healthcare industry. So we'll have him talk to us a little bit about that and the unique work done by hospice and his support for Measure G. If you have an idea for a future working lunch guest or someone you want to learn more about, send us an email at slowchamber@slowchamber.org. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.